Yep. Uh, there we go. Hello? Can I hear me now? Hello? That's better. So yeah, I looked through the document a little bit, looking at people's reasons for why they think the React Native thing should be uh, not pursued or pursued more slowly or something like that. Um, so it kind of brings me back to how this was done at Facebook, and so I made a mistake kind of early on in the process, and I talked about React Native a little bit too widely, and Tomo kind of pulled me aside and explained this concept to me, and I forget exactly what he said, but there's a new concepts, new ideas, new kind of driving change at a company. You can kind of think of it as like, nursing a sapling. When it's brand new, it's very fragile. It's very young. It's not quite ready for prime time. It can't really handle the direct sunlight. It can't really handle the wind and the rain and everything. And that's so like a new project, like implementing React Native at a company, especially a company that already has an existing app, already has people who, you know, have their own internal motivations that are tied to that specific code base. There's a lot going on mentally and emotionally, kind of under the surface, that people don't really realize. So anything that kind of threatens that can be given a huge emotional knee-jerk reaction, and then the result of that is lots of reasons. You get a lot of reasons for, well, let's not, yeah, well, yeah. Just like there's a million reasons for why you should not do something, or why you should slow down and let's think about it before we do it. But the kind of the really successful people at Facebook were very, very careful with their messaging and with their discussions to kind of protect that sapling and that little, that baby idea, that baby project from kind of the criticism and the challenges that will come eventually, that have to be gotten through eventually. But they worked really, really hard to protect that stuff. Even React itself was very, very protected early on. And was not talked about widely at all until it had already proven itself. Until quite a few iterations had already happened. Same deal with React Native. It was very, very tightly controlled, the messaging around it, but it had the power and the push from the top, because from a business standpoint, they really, really wanted to move faster. Like that is Facebook's addiction to speed and iteration speed, especially. So they were careful to control the messaging and how it was discussed. And one of the things that they specifically listed as a non-goal from the very beginning was code push. Like everybody knows that's like the reason to do React Native, but they were at the very first. They were like, no, we're not even trying to do that. That's not even a consideration. Like this is all about developer efficiency and stuff. And no, and then suddenly Apple changed their rules and code push is now allowed, and like full tilt, full steam ahead on code push once it was already accepted. But it was very interesting. So, my advice for any company or group or team or person that wants to kind of drive change in an environment like this, any environment where you're not starting something from scratch, you're going to want to be very, very protective of that new thing. You need to give it space and give it time to grow. I mean, you can't have unbounded time. Like if you have a sapling that takes 25 years to mature before it can handle the sun and the rain and the wind and stuff, well, like maybe you should plant a different tree, or maybe you should go with a different technology. Like if it's going to take a year to get up and running with React Native, like it is the wrong thing. But it shouldn't take that long. It shouldn't take that long. what might help is to get some people in who already have a lot of familiarity with it to do like a really quick and dirty kind of prototype. Um, Maybe just get something just to get the basics right, to make sure that you have all the really boring stuff. Make sure code push is working from day one. Make sure that it's um, all the error reporting and the null checks and all the yada yada yada, all the crashing stuff that might crash it, because results are king. And if you have a list of crashes related to React Native, well, React Native is bad, and I would agree, absolutely. But fix that stuff first. That's your kind of baseline, is to make sure there's no crashes, or no more than native code. And yeah, set a strict timeline. Set strict success criteria. Like, what are you looking at achieving? Does it actually, this time, like 3 months later, if you're actually putting some real effort into it, is it getting you where you want to go? It shouldn't take 3 months to do a really quick and dirty prototype, with a fresh code base. So it might be worth like starting a completely new app from scratch based on React Native. Implement the features that you want there. Once you get the design right and the functionality right, then as a separate process, figure out how to integrate that into your main app. Maybe do like a kind of a separate app that you don't actually ship to anybody, and then you do React Native Web at the same time, and then actually ship like the web version of those screens to some select users, because the web you can iterate much faster and stuff. So that's where I would start out, but the specifics might be different in the specific case. So let's talk about it. Anyway, see ya.